What do you call the middle part here,
Oh
Styves?
man, the middle part, the meat and potatoes, right? Because if they can stay for the appetizer, that means they're gonna enjoy the meat and the potatoes, right? So a little bit more pressure on you because obviously if you started out with a nice bang and really an attention grabber, you got to really finish it. I mean, I think we've all been places where the appetizer was amazing and then the cordon bleu chicken comes out and you're like, I would rather have extra wings, right? So we definitely don't want to let our audience down. So everything needs to be planned. So typically with your meat and potatoes, you're going to be right around the 10 to 40-ish seconds. Now you can still scale that up. Like Chuck said, you can take this format and still apply it to a 30-minute or to a 5-minute. So you would still look at it as that percentage, the about 80% to 75% of the video is your meat and potatoes. So when you look at it, every single story video has some type of emotional connection. Every single one. Even if you don't like the video, there was still something that they were going for. So is that emotion high energy and fast paced? Is that emotion sentimental? Is that emotion pulling on your empathy and your sympathy, right? Like they do for the Ronald McDonald charity when they say, donate for the kids that are in the hospital. So every single video has an emotion. So you need to pick your emotion of what you're trying to do, regardless if it's a corporate video, personal video. You need to really just stop and say, cool, I want to make a video for my daughter's birthday. Do I want it to be super happy or do I want it to be more heartfelt? And just because when she was 1 year old, she had a heart murmur and, she wasn't expected to be here. So once you pick that emotion, it's going to be so much easier. 2, your key messaging, your who, what, when, where, and why. We've all heard that since elementary school. Some things don't change, right? Can't really reinvent the wheel. You can only add a better tire to it. So when you're looking at your who, what, when, where, why, sometimes some of those W's won't match, won't fit because you might not have a where because you're doing a online service and you can ship internationally. Or you might not have a who because it's kind of a universal product and you already have your target, but you're not necessarily excluding. So when you look at your 5 W's, you should be able to answer that yourself because if you can't answer it, the audience is not going to be able to answer it. And then visually displaying your story. So again, if we're looking at something that is going to be for firefighters, for example, we need to be very visual. Whether they find B-roll of actual fires being put out, if they get their own footage from maybe a couple years ago of them, actually at a rescue site. So they're going to need to, whatever they're trying to do, they need to visually display that. Having someone just talk saying, hey, we would love for you to join the Fairfax County Fire Department because we save over 100 to 200 lives a day. I'm going to say, okay, I love the way you fluff the numbers like your pillow, but I didn't see that. But now if I see a video and a guy is saying that and it's showing multiple different ones, I'm gonna be drawn in. I'm like, wow, maybe if I join, I can make that 201 saves per day, right? So that's where you want to visually tell your story visually. You can say it, but you want to also see it. Now to a little bit more of the technical part on the second part, all of these facts here or all of these key things are really going to be interchangeable between professional and cell phone. So when we look at, just to be clear, when we look at professional video and we look at cell phone video, the difference is not too far. Cell phone video is like a bicycle. Professional video is like a Ducati motorcycle. But guess what? If you can't ride a bicycle, you're not going to do that well on the Ducati anyway. But a lot of the same things to pop a wheelie is going to be the same thing. To lean into your turns is going to be the same thing. So number 1, lighting is key. I wish I could show you guys, but I have like a really huge light here. That's why you can see my whole face. So lighting is super duper major. So if you're doing a talking headshot, kind of like what we're doing here, you want to make sure you have some extra light or every light turned on and the window open so you can let as much natural light in as possible. 2, audio is 50% of the story engagement. In school, if you got a 50 out of 100, at least in Howard County, that was an E, right? You failed. If you have really poor audio within the first few seconds, that first 5 to 10 second window, it's like scratching claws on a chalkboard. People are like, oh, they're talking about saving the world, but my ears are bleeding. They're gonna jump off your video. They're gonna scroll past it, or they're gonna pause and jump to the next thing. So with clear audio, that's where you have your microphones. And again, these things are very inexpensive with your cell phones because it's scaled to the cell phone. Now, sound effects, that's when you're getting a little bit more tricky, right? Like, for example, when I have videos when people are typing, I will often add in actual sound effects at that same time. So when you're watching it, you're fully engaged in it because you're like, oh, okay, here's the typing and the walking and the sound of heels stepping on wood versus sound of heels stepping on metal. All these things matter. So when you're talking about sound effects, if you ever have a video and like there's a helicopter that flies by, find a cool sound audio of a helicopter and put it in that section of the video. It's going to really immerse the viewer into the video. And then last but not least, one of the most important things, if you didn't have all of these, but you carried this last one, you could really start making videos that you would ultimately grow from, because you'd be like, okay, I did all these things. Ooh, okay, got it. And then you just start doing more and more. So you want to match your audio with your visuals and create a flow with your background music. Basically meaning when people are talking about certain things, or if you're talking about certain things, try to find ways to show that. There's multiple ways. You can record it yourself, or you can find stock footage, i.e. Pexels, Pixabay, and it's 2023 now, right? Just go into Google and put free stock footage. So if you ever need anything like, oh man, I'm going to talk about summertime. And for Pexels, for those, I see you taking notes there, Anne-Marie. Pexels is Pexels. It's a completely free site that you can get stock photos and videos. So even if you needed to make a flyer and you're like, I need someone jumping into the pool, you can literally type kid cannonball into pool, and then you'll see a bunch of different ones that you can download and use for free. And the same thing for the video. But when you're marrying your audio with your visual, it now allows the audience to just stay tuned in. And then when you pair that with your background music is going to tie it all together like a sushi wrap to really tell your story and bring in that emotional connection.
That's excellent. Yeah, you really wrapped it up there, man. That's the meat and potatoes for sure.
Yeah. Now I want sushi though.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go back into my shares and show you, first of all, an example of this is a very personal video that Styves made. So I think you'll be able to pick up on the emotional connection that he's making here. And then I'm going to go right from that one into another one where I think this is one of the best examples I've ever seen of matching your sound and sound effects to the video. I mean, this is stunning. So I'm going to just go right from one to the other.
Running is different for everybody. For me, it's my therapy. I find peace in it. It's like meditation. Even though my body is moving, I find peace in it. Once I take those first steps and get going, I start to feel free. I know by the time I get back home, I'll be relaxed, hungry, ready to eat. But what if I don't make it home?
Hey babe, are you finished running?
Daddy, where are you?
Daddy, are you close? Hey Daddy, I called you. Can you text me back?
Hey babe, dinner's almost ready, but we're gonna wait for you. Babe? Babe?
that's, to me, that's an astonishing matching. Styves was telling me earlier that some of it was accidental, like he just got lucky. So tell him about the one with the guy drumming the fingers.
He was tapping his fingers to the beat that I found, but I found the beat after. So that song that I used was not a song that they played. And I was like, oh, then I can match the song later. Sometimes I'll do that depending on the event and what's going on. But for this one, I shot what I shot. And then when I got home and I sat down, everything started coming together for me. So even if you heard the song, it was very tribal, right? It was like, doom, 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 like very tribal. So what do you think when you think of a tribe? You think of a unit, you think of movements, and tribes have people that do different things, right? So as you saw, you had young, old, white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, you know, you had some people who were a little more relaxed, some people who were dancing. So I was like, how can I unify a video of all these different people to unify them as one? Instead of picking a hip hop song or a rock song or a pop song, I went completely out of that and picked something that I knew that would unify them. So that's where, again, that was the emotion I was going for. I was going for a unified emotion. It wasn't so much as, oh, it's so hype. The energy was there, but it was more about unity because that's so much diversity. And then two, there was not one cup of alcohol. There was not one cigarette, not one vape, not one any type of paraphernalia. From that video alone, if you were to show someone that, they would think, you know, Towson is a clean campus. And but again, I went there with that purpose. So when people were doing things and they're like, oh, catch me balancing this beer can on my head, I just wouldn't use it, right? Because that's what I'm going for. Now there's times I'll shoot events and they're like, capture everything. We want to show how crazy and wild we are. Cool, no problem. You know, here you go. But for that, I was telling that story, right? So as you know, there might be all of that there, but as far as when you watch this video, it's not there. And that's all that's storytelling. You know, I could go in there and make it look like anything. I could have went in there and made it look like it was a church event because I could have changed the music. I would have took out some of the dance. There's so many things that you got to be able to do for your story, because it wasn't their story. It's my story because I'm telling the story. Now, if they came with a script and everything, that would have been different. But so that was like the biggest thing for that video. And then when you're talking about marrying, even when he was clapping, if you go back and watch it, it was clapping on the beat. I had to slow it down just enough because he was out in the tailgate. And then I was like, you think you guys gonna win? He's like, of course we're gonna win. But I had to slow it down. So it's like, doom, doom, doom. You right? So like, again, I have to tell my story. So all of that video kind of embodies the storytelling, the visual, tying it in and marrying in with the audio and the background music.
Very cool. So
and then some of that other sound effects I added were some of the shakes, like at the end when the screen was shaking because he was there. I was like, let me add some shakes so it can make him look bigger. And every time he moves, it looks like he's shaking the ground. So I added that with the visual, right? You heard the boo, and then he was shaking. So, you know, a lot of those little things people won't know, but when they watch it, they're like, oh, that was cool. But, you know, we're back here slaving, burning our hands all over the grill to make sure that everything comes out, you know, well cooked. So.
That's great. Meat and potatoes.
Yep.
Yes. Another, just picking up on a couple of things that Styves was just talking about in the video creators roadmap, we talk about planning, shooting, editing, and posting. So the posting part, of course, is getting your videos out where people can see them. Planning, Styves keeps talking about purpose. You guys have to keep in mind that even if you're just writing a few scribbles on a notepad like this, that can become your script. You can get more formal, as Veronica knows. She's done some nice work on her scripting. So if you really think about it ahead of time, then go to the event or go to the shoot and you know, plan for it to be the way you want it to be, but be prepared for serendipity. You're going to wind up with a whole lot of really great B-roll that then you can come back. And that's where the editing and the intelligence around editing comes together.
With the Ahmaud Arbery video, I did that video in my head probably within like 45 minutes to like 50-ish minutes. I did it the day before on a run. Like I said in that video, that's a God honest truth. Running is my therapy. It's really hard for me to meditate. I try, but when I'm sitting still, my brain is just like, what socks are we gonna wear to the gym today? Should we wear purple shoes because they're bright? Like my brain just won't shut off. So for me, running is more my therapy. while I ran, I thought of that whole script, and I thought of how can I get an organic statements from my wife and my kids to add to the video. Then I was like, oh, that would be great. I'm gonna have them asking where I am, because if I wouldn't come back from a run, that's what they would do. They would say, where are you? Daddy, are you almost home? And my wife would be like, babe, dinner's almost ready. So even when I came home, I did it separately. At the time, my son was about 2.5. So it was like, hey, Shades, come here. And I took him in the bathroom. And I said, hey, say this. And he said it. And I was like, say one more thing. And then even with my wife, I was like, I had to lie to her because, she's an adult. I was like, no, I'm trying to play with the audio thing, but I want you to say something that you would say to me. Just say, hey, babe, dinner's ready. Say, hey, babe, are you on your way home? And then with my daughter was just like in her teenage world. So I was like, just say it. She was like, hey, daddy, I texted you. Are you here? And she just went back to doing whatever teenagers do. And then I was able to, because I planned it all out, put that together. So just like when we go grocery shopping, if I give you even just $200 and I say, go to Wegmans and make some food for us, you're going to be in there for like 2 to 3 hours. Because you can be like, is he pescatarian? No, wait a minute, might be allergic to shellfish. Are they vegan? Do they not eat red meat? Maybe I should get all turkey substitute. You're going to be in there. But if I say, here's $200, I need this kind of bread, this kind of cheese, this kind of meat, no mayo. Also olives, you can be in and out like this. So it's the same thing with the video. Don't look at it as you have to rush everything, but the more you can prepare, boom, boom. Because the video is going to be 1 minute, whether you record for 6 hours or you record for 20 minutes. The video itself, if you're planning a 60-second video, can only be 60 seconds. When I say pre-planning, even think about how you're going to start the video. What's the first thing you want people to see when they start the video? If you're doing a service for firefighters, right? I mean, obviously, we can easily pull on heartstrings and action there. We can start with action with noise and fire crackling and them pulling someone out. Or you can start with the firefighter sliding down the pole. So if you know that's how you want it to be, say, oh, I'm gonna start with a shot of the fire pole and the logo there. When the guy slides down, he wipes the logo out and then he's running into the truck. If I know that, guess what's the first thing I'm doing when I get to the firehouse? Hey, where's the fire pole? Right here, cool. Light it up, bet. Can you stand here? Make sure I got the lighting, good, cool. Slide down, next shot.
That's awesome.
So it's not, again, don't look at it because I've necessarily been doing it longer. Look at it as just be very, very purposeful and find ways to, cool, what music am I going to use? What logos am I going to use? Do I need to show someone's name? So you want to plan so much more beforehand than you do just getting into the grocery store. And then you're trying to be like, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm shooting and I'm picking out things and I'm trying to figure out what cheese is going to go with what.